continue our series, Caring for Your Mind. During these times, we're experiencing troubling times, and people are reacting in many different fashions. Anxiety, depression is common to be heard everywhere. One of the things that we're going to be talking about today is about depression and the lies we tell ourselves. So, what exactly is depression? Depression is just not being sad and the normal sadness. The reality is that sadness is something common to everyone, and at some point we're going to experience it. And it's not even grief. If you have lost someone or lost something that is dear to you, you're going to experience grief, and that is a normal part of the process. Now, depression is something more than that. Depression is a loss of interest. You don't even want to do your regular activities that you used to do before. You might even change your appetite. You might be eating very little or eating too much. You might have difficulty sleeping, having insomnia, or even the opposite, sleeping too much, having a loss of energy, feeling lethargic, and then feeling worthless or guilt, difficulties concentrating, thinking, even having a hard time making decisions that before you were able to make without any problems. Thoughts of death or suicide or just wishing to be dead. As you can see in this graphic of a PET scan, this is an image of the brain, you can see that there's actual changes to the brain when somebody's depressed. The image to the left is somebody who's not depressed. The brain is fully functional all over the place, lighting up, while the picture on the right-hand side is of someone who is depressed. It's actually just portions of the brain that are activated, and in a particular area is overly activated. That is actually the area where fears and things like that happen. That's why many times we have depression that goes with anxiety at the same time. So depression is actually very common. It's the number one reason where people have disabilities. Women tend to experience depression in their lifetime. From 20 to 25% of women sometime during their lifetime will experience depression. Men, on the other hand, will experience depression throughout their lifetime, 7 to 12%. The entire U.S. population being 7% of them depression. And this is not just for adults. Children from the age to 3 to 17 can experience clinical depression, which is about 3% of the population. Right now, they used the census as they were asking people what was going on with their mental health and if people were experiencing depression. And they found that people in the United States, throughout the coronavirus, before, it used to be only 25% of the population who were experiencing depression. Now, we are up to 50% that during this crisis have been feeling anxious and depressed for a prolonged period of time. So this is a significant health issue that we need to be concerned about. So let's think a little bit about how can we address the issue of depression. Depression is a mood disorder. So in other words, it affects our feelings, but it also affects our thoughts. Cognitive behavioral therapy is one of the most successful forms of therapy that is used to treat depression and anxiety. So what is cognitive behavioral therapy? Well, it focuses on thoughts. The reality is that many times the way we think impacts the way we feel and therefore the way we behave. So let's say if I'm thinking, oh, people don't like me. I start feeling sad because I feel people don't like me. Therefore, I begin avoiding people. And therefore, again, it's kind of like a vicious cycle where other thoughts of like, you see, people really don't like me. I'm a terrible person. And then feel worthless. And again, continuing this cycle of not being around people, isolating. So what cognitive behavioral therapy does is try to help people focus on the way they think, to try to learn the ways that people think that are not productive and are creating feelings of depression or anxiety, to change the way we think so we can think in a way that is going to lead to more productive ways of relating. So what are the lies that we tell ourselves? These are the cognitive distortions. What are cognitive distortions? Cognitive distortions are the lies that we tell ourselves, are things that we believe inside ourselves. But the truth is, we shouldn't believe everything we think. We really sometimes have some crazy thoughts. And that's all they are, thoughts. We don't need to do what we think. We don't need to believe what we think. It's just a thought. What is one of those first cognitive distortion? Well, it's this all or nothing thinking, black and white thinking. I had an F. I'm a terrible student. It doesn't matter that the previous test I got a C or even a B or an A. Is that when I got that F, I'm a total failure. I'm not a good student. It doesn't put things into perspective. All or nothing doesn't see what is good in another person or even in itself. It just makes everything good or everything bad.